People, deluded, I'm back again. I hope you're all doing well and safe and you're in good spirits on this Tuesday morning. Welcome back to another edition of the Deluded podcast. Big up yourself however you're listening to this, better yet. Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, whatever podcast service you're listening to, make sure you're subscribed or whatever they refer to it as, so you're alert to all my content coming up. As usual, make sure you're following me across all the socials, links in the description, YouTube, Deluded Gooner04. Like I said, I hope you're all doing well and safe this Tuesday morning. The Premier League is finally finished for this game week. Spurs will get into it, but got over the line against Burnley. Was a negative week for Arsenal. City dropped points, Chelsea and Man United dropped points. Really, only Spurs fans are laughing in comparison to top six rivals. That and Leicester, because Leicester absolutely did a number on Arsenal. Showed the difference in game management, showed the difference in tactics, and just outdone us, people. So let's jump straight into the Premier League action. We lost on Sunday, I'm big up to the Arsenal fans. I think we personally raised £34,000 for local food banks and, helping people in need, helping people where that 15 quid might as well be 15 million, because that's the impact it will make. Not these fat cat rich Premier League guys, who probably used to spending £15 on some apple juice, and we'll get into it later on in this podcast, but it's a bit rich seeing people like Mike Ashley talk about it and criticize the decision when, unless you're a Leicester player, chairman or whatever, they're the only ones that can talk, because Leicester City are the only ones that said no to this 15 quid pay-per-view nonsense. They're the only Premier League club that in this instance, better yet, acted with anything close to a grain of integrity. Every other member of the Premier League should be ashamed, my team included, because we say we care about the fans. You thought with COVID, it seemed like the fans that have been underrepresented, underappreciated, just downright taken advantage of, were finally being sympathised with and whatnot. But as you saw with this, as you've seen with many different tasks, this is brought to light, if ever, that they don't care about you. They care about your wallet. They don't care about your family. They care about your wallet. But we'll get into that later. Now, like I said, man, big up Leicester for that. But for other reasons, they walked away with the 3 points. I think Leicester City done a complete number on Arsenal. It was lovely game management. Obviously, it might have been a different Leicester City from the start had Jamie Vardy, had 90 minutes in his tank. Obviously, half an hour from Jamie Vardy was all that's needed, and he's somewhat a Premier League legend, if there ever was one. But I just feel that's for me reason as to why we saw it. I felt Leicester were a bit timid. They held their shape. They tried to counter. In fact, in the first half, they were quite defeative. They were allowing David Luiz and Gabriel way too much space. You saw David Luiz picking some lovely passes. And to be fair, when David Luiz came off for Arsenal, it was the beginning of the end, really, because anytime, big up David Luiz. When a team is going to sit back like Leicester did, 4-5-1, men behind the ball, 11 men behind it, concede the space for the centre-halves and just maintain their own shape, you're going to need someone to take it upon themselves to play difficult passes. And David Luiz was doing that. When he came off, we lost that. I think he was one of the only Arsenal players can say they had a perfect performance of such. And we all know David Luiz is a special guy at times when it comes to defending. But anytime you're playing in a game and your centre-half, sorry for making all this noise, people, I just dropped something. My deodorant just come out of the shower. Anytime your centre half is your most creative player, you're in problems. And I've got a lot of time for Arteta. Defensively, we're not perfect. I don't think we've kept one clean sheet or something like that in 11 games. But there's been an improvement. For me, the only criticism, and people think it's being negative, I back Arteta until he gives me a reason not to back him. But same way I asked, I back Aubameyang, but he needs to ask himself why he's not scoring. I feel Arteta has a lot to do in terms of attacking options. I feel all the attacking players, apart from Saka, need to pull it out, because he's the only one playing anything close to his potential. And big up Saka, because I think the Leicester game was his 50th Arsenal game. Big up the 19-year-old, fantastic achievement. But same way, people, I don't think we're doing anything. I don't know if we're doing anything on the training ground to suggest we're going to be better in an attacking sense. It's not as white and black as saying you bring in Alwa, you bring in a creative man and they're going to solve the issues, because we've been down this road with Mesut Ozil. You need movement, you need runners, you need people to create space. The creative man makes the difference because that's his quality, but everyone's got to want to play those difficult passes within reason. You look at Liverpool, Trent wants to play difficult passes, Robertson wants to play difficult passes, the front three, agree. People might, Fabinho's playing centre half, but Fabinho will try. Ronaldo, Henderson, they'll all try. Henderson set up a banger for Mane the other day. Is it against Chelsea? Could be wrong. So it's not as white and black as that. And I think, I would prioritize defending. We're making building blocks, but we're focusing on defending too much. And you look at the game against City and Liverpool, I think we thought about the opposition too much and not what we could do. And also to a degree against Leicester, like he went four at the back. I can't criticise the team lineup and that. But you're almost seeing us settle into a back five. You're seeing Xhaka pull out to left back. Obviously, that's with Saka and Tierney and Aubameyang and all these guys on the left-hand side. Xhaka's covering the space. But there's many times he's slotting into a back five when the fullback's tuck in. You've got him. You've got Partey isolated in the middle and players are not even passing to him. When they do, he's making something happen. Ceballos, this wide centre mid role isn't working. There was too much gaps in our midfield, and when they, there was too much gaps for me. And when they were close, they were too close. Like there's no point passing 5 yards next to each other. You need space, within reason. Partey's the only one really, because that's his job. So I think we shot ourselves in the foot, but Leicester soaked up our pressure. At 0-0, you're always going to have confidence. At half-time, it's a big half, What is said at half-time, because the Arsenal that came out, went back into old habits, was sluggish. Even Gabriel, I'm not scapegoating Gabriel, because I think he was one of the better players. Just to illustrate a point, he's starting to play sloppy passes, and we're switching off. And this is a lot of these players talk about wanting to get top four and being around the block. Where's the game management? Apologies, my alarm went off. Where's the game management? At 0-0, against Leicester, Jamie Vardy's going to play half an hour. Last game, against Jamie Vardy at the Emirates, you took your eyes off him, and he scored within the dying embers of the game. And he's done it again. There's midfielders. Nobody's tracking the runners. It's 2v1. Gabriel was telling Mustafi to tuck in. It was a culmination of bad decisions that allowed Sengi's Under and Vardy to combine. 2 subs off the bench, soaked up all our pressure, walked away with the 3 points. Their first victory at the Emirates since 1973, or better yet, against Arsenal. Credit to Brendan Rodgers. And for me, it's a test fail, because I hear all the players talk about top four and all of this. You need to be able to play great against the top 6 teams or leave with some sort of pride. Yeah, we didn't get a cricket score against Liverpool and against Man City, so we can save face. But we was toothless. We didn't make them work. We didn't force their attacking players to show their individual quality. Liverpool had to work harder against Sheffield United this week. Leeds have made Man City work harder for a point. Leicester, West Ham put them to the sword. We didn't, and that's the beauty of the Premier League, because Leicester smacked City, and then Leicester got smacked by West Ham. West Ham drew against City. We've beat West Ham. We've beat Leicester in the Carling Cup. I had to say that, but we ain't beat Leicester in the league. The league's just full of randomness, and Arsenal shot themselves in the foot. And for me, 3 top 6 clashes, failed all 3. Yeah, you could say, we've beat Leicester in the cup, and we beat Liverpool in the cup, and I'm not belittling that, but the league is the bread and butter. The league is where you've got to show 38 game consistency, and so far we haven't displayed that. The only top performance I'd say is against Fulham, and looking at Fulham, with all due respect to Fulham, their fans, and you never know, DG might get a scouting job at Fulham one day, so I don't want to burn bridges. You're expected to beat them. You don't need to be at your best. Fulham are bordering on the Europa League side for me, in that you can rotate the team and beat them. They can't buy a win away from home, people. At home or away from home. They are struggling. Apart from that, we got away with it against West Ham. We got away with it in the Carling Cup against Leicester. And then, you don't always get away with it. And that's the thing. You've got to look at things for what they are. Because when you win, everybody just wants to shut up about things. When you lose, everyone wants to be doom and gloom. Very few people want to look at the wider picture. And that is, this Arsenal team is filled of bad habits. I rate Arteta, and I mess with Arteta, and he's still my guy. But I am getting a bit baffled with some of the decisions he's doing. My main pet peeve is attacking. He's got to get us playing a bit better. It's down to the players, as I've said, but he's got to get us playing a bit better. He needs to settle, at least for me, for the next couple of games. Can you settle on an 11? It's not healthy. 1 minute Aubameyang on the left, then on the right, and Ketia through the middle, then he's on the left. And you're doing, there's many players he's doing bare things. And we haven't got a team like City where you can play Bernardo on the left, on the right, or central mid, or deep line playmaker, or Raheem Sterling through the middle. Even in relation to a striker, people. One thing I like about Arteta is, he takes it on a game-by-game basis. The players that might be the guys to get the job done, or or attempt to get the job done against Liverpool might not be the same against City. I like that, but our squad is at levels, and for me, he hasn't settled on a striker, and that's a pet peeve for me because it's crippling us. I think he rates all our forwards or wide options. Striking options. I just don't think he's fully 100% convinced on them. Like, I think he rates with Lacazette. He rates Lacazette highly, but I don't think he's convinced in Lacazette, and neither am I really. Lacazette's a good player, but he's not going to score enough goals in this division. He can't pull. If Aubameyang goes, we're in trouble. Lacazette can't lead the line alone, and like you saw yesterday, he's going to have good periods and bad moments. Against Leicester, he was pretty poor in my opinion, far too concerned with moaning and fouling than actually trying to put the ball in the back of the net, but each to their own. I don't think he's convinced in Lacazette's capabilities. We can't run him behind. I don't think he's convinced over a 38-game period that Aubameyang is his number 9 through the middle because of alleged maybe hold-up play or whatever. He's played Willian in there. I see a bit of, playing Raheem Sterling false 9 with that Willian sort of thing. The Willian thing ain't going to bang. Eddie, I think he likes his youthful energy and pressing, but there's something, preventing him. So I don't think he really trusts anyone through the middle, and that's a big reason as to why our attack is quite imbalanced, people. But we lost, 3 tests against the top 6. We failed all of them so far in the Premier League. So it is what it is. Hopefully Aubameyang gets back to goal scoring ways in the league. I know he did last week in the Europa, but he has gone 5 league games without a goal for the first time since November 2014. This happened while he was playing for Borussia Dortmund. His expected goals total of 0.43 ranks only 77th in the Premier League this campaign, which highlights his struggles. That can all change. On the flip side, and a striker that is scoring goals at the moment, Jamie Vardy. Like I said, Leicester picked up their first away win at Arsenal since 1973 and ended a run of 27 games without an away victory against them in all competitions. Jamie Vardy has now scored 11 goals in 12 matches against Arsenal, with only Wayne Rooney's 12 scoring more against the Gunners in the competition. Vardy is also the highest scoring away player at the Emirates in top flight ties. He's got 5 goals, and you'd back him to take Wayne Rooney's thing. When I think of Wayne Rooney, I think of Didier Drogba, I think of Jamie Vardy. What a front three that would be to play against Arsenal, and I'm sure there's about 20, maybe more Arsenal defenders that would all probably poo their boots at the prospect of facing them. But enough about Arsenal, people. I'm moving on to Wolves. Now, Wolves versus Newcastle, Jimenez just can't stop scoring from outside the box. Murphy did well to get his rescue a point for his team with a free kick. Wolves keeper Patricio should be doing a bit better. You can't allow yourself to be beaten from there. You heard Murphy speak about low and hard, that he was working on that in the training ground, and that's what the analytical team at Newcastle was saying. So that's something they've worked on. For Wolves, obviously it's 2 points dropped, and Wolves have had a bit of a shaky opening period to the Premier League. Jacob Murphy has scored his first Premier League goal in 1,009 days, people, since netting at the Etihad against Man City back in January 2018. So he knows how to pick them. That was the only shot on target in the second half for Newcastle, and similar circumstances like Spurs. They hardly had a shot on target until in the second half, until the courtesy of VAR, they got that penalty. But Newcastle, specifically Steve Bruce, won't care. A point isn't the worst of results. Each of Raul Jimenez's last 2 Premier League goals have come from outside the box, people, with none of his first 32 in the competition coming from distance. So maybe that's something Jimenez has been working on. Now, Everton, in a crazy Premier League season where everyone's dropping points and nobody's made it their own, many tipped Carlo Ancelotti's men to mount a title challenge. It can still be done. You can't draw too many conclusions and hot takes, but they kind of brought back down to reality. They had 10 men Everton succumbed to a 2-0 defeat against Southampton. Southampton, for me, pressed well, moved the ball well. Danny Ings looked good. Stupid red card from Dejanay for that foul on Kyle Walker-Peters, by the way. Ward-Prowse obviously bagged, and it's a big season for him, if he wants to go to the Euros and whatnot. Big up Southampton for the 3 points, Ward-Prowse, and that's still the spoils and end Everton's unbeaten run. Southampton have beaten the team starting the day on top of the Premier League table for the first time in 12 matches since a 1-0 victory at Anfield in September 2013 against Brendan Rodgers' Liverpool. At the time, Everton have had a man sent off in back-to-back Premier League games for the first time since May 2011. After failing to score in any of his first 24 Premier League appearances, people, Shea Adams has now scored 6 goals in his last 12 in the competition. So maybe he's found his level. You know, he's got some important goals. He's bagged against Chelsea. He scored some important goals and maybe he feels comfortable. Danny Ings doing what he can for my fantasy league, people. Danny Ings has provided 2 assists in a Premier League game for the first time, with this his 117th appearance in the competition. So it is what it is in that regards, people. Moving on to Liverpool and a 2-1 victory over Sheffield United. Sheffield United went down fighting. You know, Jota saved the day, and that new signing is making an impression at Liverpool. Jota is the first player to score in his first 2 home appearances for Liverpool in the Premier League since Sadio Mane in September 2016. And I guess my phone is a Liverpool fan because it went off and gave me a Liverpool alert courtesy of The Athletic while I was saying that. You know, Fabinho, is it a penalty on Oli McBurney? I think it is. You know, he's a good player. He knows he shouldn't be going to ground there. You know, Sandra Bird stepped up. You know, Brewster played against Liverpool and it weren't the sort of revenge game against your old team that you thought would happen. Mo Salah, unfortunately, was denied a cracker of a goal, but, you know, Jota and Cole patterned it up for them, man, really and truly. Who scored the other? Jota and who scored the second? Firmino, you know. Firmino hasn't bagged too often at Anfield or bagged at all too tough in the Premier League. And, you know, definitely this season I've seen a lot of Liverpool fans kind of be on his back, and rightly so, because there was a lot of excuses. The same with Lacazette. Oh, he's a big game player, he creates. People said Firmino does that. Yeah, he creates, but his creativity is overstated. You know, I'm not saying it's not good, but you're making out that it's Lionel Messi in the creative role. It's not. He needs to score more. He's a good player, Firmino, and he needs to bag more. And definitely with the signing of someone like Thiago, who's working his way back from injury, you know, that whole the creative, the selflessness for the team, it kind of don't have any much things. And I'm not saying just Liverpool fans, but this is what fans do when they don't want to call a spade a spade. It's like, in no world is it wrong to say Firmino is a good player, he should score more, you know? It's a mad one, but Liverpool got over the line. Like I said, it was a tough, well-fought victory, and Liverpool got over the line, and that's the mark of champions. And nobody, I'm sure Liverpool fans, City fans, football fans in general would say Liverpool or City look perfect, but it's a vital 3 points for Liverpool, especially considering, you know, that Man City dropped 2 points against West Ham. You know, Man United and Chelsea drew. You know, Arsenal lost. You know, Spurs won. You know, they're the only ones. And I don't think, apart from City, the Liverpool really are focusing on all them teams. But you've got to really and truly. And it's almost like Arsenal is frustrating because I don't think we're in any title race. But you can kind of I always want to make ground on our team, on the opposition when they've dropped points, regardless of if they're Liverpool or Man United or whoever, people. So it's a weird one like that, really and truly. Sander Berge's penalty was the first penalty Liverpool have faced at Anfield in 37 Premier League games since a 0-0 draw with Manchester City in October 2018, people. Moving away from that, the big game of the weekend was Chelsea versus Manchester United. If you was hoping for drama, for goals, you got none of that. Be real, both teams, Lampard and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, with the level of scrutiny both people are facing, would have taken a point. You know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, a couple of weeks ago, it seemed like he was a dead man walking. And, you know, with beating PSG, with this result, with a couple of decent results, you know, I'm not going to say it's gone away because the Pochettino links are still there in the background, but he's done what he could somewhat to kind of quiet it down. Lampard isn't facing any sack, but I'm not going to lie, it is going to take time. And to be fair with you, it's been a matter of months for that team to be together. And you've also got to remember, you know, players are all developing at different rates. You know, pre-season injuries, these all have factors. But, you know, for the money they've spent to have, one or no shots, I can't remember the statistics on target in the whole game, was quite atrocious, people. They're spending too much money for that to ever be a thing. Like, if I just go courtesy of Google, because I actually want to see the statistics, people, and you look at this 0-0 draw, I don't know how Maguire needs to stop pulling people in the box, because I do not know how Chelsea didn't have a penalty, funny enough, people. Obviously, big up Cavani for making his debut. He's up there alongside Zlatan Ibrahimovic, I'm sure, for being the oldest Manchester United players. If I just bring it, where is it? Yeah, people. 1 shot on target, 6 shots from Chelsea. For all that money spent for a starting 11 of Pulisic, Havertz, Werner, you know, Jorginho with a pass behind them, Reece James who can play football, you know, you've got Abraham, Mount and Ziyech off the bench to have 1 shot on target. is atrocious. The players have to take it upon themselves because they're playing at Manchester United. They're playing in a big game. Players have got to want to be the difference. But at the same time, it comes down to coaching. And I think first and foremost, someone like Kai Havertz, he is adaptable. But you run the risk of being a jack of all trades, master of none. He can play up front. He can play on the flanks. You know, I know he can play as a false nine. But for me, I think he's best at home in a 10 position, a sort of, you know, that sort of role. Play players in their best positions, you know. I do think Chelsea could have a bad boy team. You've got Werner, who is going to score goals in this league, in my opinion. Pulisic, you know, different gravy. Havertz, you know, you got Ziyech, you got bare players, people. For Man United, the play was quite stale. You know, it's again, Daniel James, surely they're going to get rid of him. But a point is a point, and it's a good point for both sides. If we're honest with you, there's no losers. It weren't the best of games to watch, of course, people. But both teams simply lived to fight another day. Now, yesterday, you saw Spurs play against Burnley, people. Harry Kane and Son Heung-min seem to keep their link up going. I mean, you can't name a better duo, people, apart from probably Bun and Cheese. Or Bun and Cheese with Milo as well. Make it a trio. You can't really name a better duo at the moment. And I believe, you know, they're on 29 in terms of combined assists, people. They've moved ahead of Henry and Perez. You know, let's see if they move ahead of them for trophies. Only Didier Drogba and Frank Lampard have managed more with 36. And you'd back Spurs, specifically Son Heung-min and Harry Kane, to get over the line. I think Spurs I think Burnley were unlucky, you know. I think Burnley worked quite hard, but at the same time, I don't think Spurs were poor. I think they were quite sluggish, weren't really creating. I feel Ben Davies and Dyer weren't poor, but there was like at least 2 lapses in concentration Burnley could have exploited. I must admit, I'm a big fan of Doherty, but I'm not really rating his thing since he signed for Spurs, you know. I'm not really rating Doherty too tough, really. I'm not going to lie to you lot. Spare a thought for Dele Alli. Dele Alli is not even in the matchday squad. And, you know, with Europa this first day, maybe some rotation. You'd expect Bale to start. You know, their Brazilian striker on loan, Vicinha, I believe, to probably start. There'll be some rotation. I think Jose could have got Lo Celso and potentially Lemina on sooner. But at the end of the day, you know, they had to remain rigid. They had to fight. And I think Spurs did their job. And actually, I was impressed with Spurs defensively. They were playing the high line. They were doing what they could in a tactical way to disadvantage Burnley from taking advantage of set pieces and stuff, as you know they can. Burnley are quite a poor footballing side to watch, but I think their fullbacks have Charlie Taylor's got to offer more, and Loughton never wanted to help Goodmanson on the overlap. Obviously, Harry Kane, he got an assist and Son scored, but we've got to remember defensively, you know, he cleared a shot off the line. Well, headed a shot off the line. So big up Kane, people, and you know, I'm not a fan of Spurs, but I'm a fan of Harry Kane and Son Heung-min just as a football purist. They're 2 lovely footballers. As I was saying, spare a thought for Dele Alli. He can't even get in the matchday squad, people. Like I said, Bale and the striker Junior and all these guys will probably play on Thursday. But considering it's a Euros year, you ain't been called up to the last 1 or 2 England squads as a result of not playing. It's a bit concerning. It's like Jose said, you know what? Ndombile's in my good books now. Dele, you're the next guy I have to get on. I need a centre mid to get on, so it's going to be you. But who knows, man. Tottenham have kept just 2 clean sheets in their last 28 Premier League away games, both in goalless draws last season against the relegated side Bournemouth and Watford. And we know clean sheets, Spurs are scoring a lot of goals. I swear they have to be the top goal scorers in the league, or definitely second. But clean sheets, you know, they're still yet to win at home, I believe. And clean sheets, you know, clean sheets is what's going to make the difference. Against West Ham, they put them to the sword. The team had an inability to defend. Spurs can potentially do something special this season if they can keep a clean sheet. And the same goes for Arsenal, the same goes for Chelsea, the same goes for any team that has any ambitions, whether it's staying in the league, winning the league, or top 4. You know, defense makes the difference over a 38-game period. Your Harry Kanes, your Sons, these lot can dig you out with their individual quality. But more importantly than that is from the striker to the keeper, game in, game out, how you defend and how you manage games. So it is what it is in that regards, people. So yeah, quite the bookie week in terms of Premier League action, and you know, it is the best league in the world in my opinion, people. I'm not gonna sit here and cap to you lot. I'm not gonna cap. Obviously, you all saw West Ham against Man City as well. We'll get on to that. But before that, you had West Brom against Brighton. A point doesn't help either side. Carlon Grant, 7 minutes from time, helped his team, West Bromwich Albion, nick a point after an own goal from Jake Livermore. You know, Carlon Grant has scored 4 goals in his last 6 away league games after netting just 1 in 6 before that. Since the start of last season, no side has benefited from more own goals in the Premier League than Brighton with 5 alongside Spurs. Jake Livermore's own goal was West Bromwich Albion's first in the Premier League since December 2017 against Arsenal, in which James McLean did that. So it's a bit of a dodgy one, but I'm sure neither team will care, especially West Brom. West Brom need to get points on the road, and you could hear their manager, Bielik, he was quite upset. Is it El Ghazi? He went off to Saudi Arabia. He joined the Saudi Arabian club on loan after giving his assurances that he would stay. And what I would say to Bielik is a promise is a comfort to a fool. I'm not saying you're silly. I'm just saying you can't trust people in this economy. Moving away from that though, people, Manchester City dropped 2 points against West Ham, and apparently David Moyes is in line for a new deal. A lot of people were saying West Ham at a point were playing better because David Moyes weren't there. Obviously, sadly, he was recovering from corona, but it looks like he was managing from his hospital bed and he's back. And he's showing the David Moyes of Everton and potentially the one that kind of hoodwinks Man United into bringing him in, you know. West Ham, that's a big point against Man City. And to be fair, they took the lead, you know. Yeah, we could say West City were wasteful, they didn't take their chances, they were sluggish. But I think we typically do that when you've got a team like City and Liverpool against a lesser side. You have to give credit to the other side because at the end of the day, a football game is 22 players on the field. You know, Phil Foden came on at halftime and he obviously scored to make sure they walk away with a point. What a cracking finish it was from Mikel Antonio. He made something out of nothing, and he's shown why since the restart in June, only Harry Kane with 12 has scored more Premier League goals than the West Ham striker / winger / I've even seen him play right back. You know, he's got 11. He's a cool guy. I've actually met him in person and I've got a West Ham shirt in my wardrobe signed by him. So I actually like to see him and Townsend, because they're 2 of the first footballers I met, just 2 real cool brothers to do well. Big up now Ranger as well, because he was blessed people. But on the topic of Phil Foden and saving the day, he has now scored in 3 of his last 4 away Premier League games for City, with 3 in total, after failing to find the back of the net in any of his previous 13. So he's gaining greater importance. It was a Southwest derby, Fulham against Crystal Palace, and Fulham more misery continues as Crystal Palace defeated them 2-1. The only positive from Fulham was that banger at the end from Kearney. Too little too late, but a good finish none the wiser. Kamara was sent off for a tackle on Eze after VAR showed that it was it wasn't, I wouldn't say there was malice in it, but it's silly play. It's endangering another professional, you know. Just because it's not done with intent doesn't mean it's not reckless. And, you know, there will be more of those similar incidences, and there has been, in terms of people being sent off after initially being shown a yellow. Wilfred Zaha got a goal and an assist. You know, it was a good assist for Reedwald, and it was also good for a finish from him to get on the end of it for Zaha's goal. And obviously you saw him collaterate the post, but if he didn't do that, you know, Crystal Palace don't win or such. But Zaha has scored 5 goals in his last 6 Premier League games, as many as in his his previous 41 combined. We know Zaha is a good player, but what will make the difference for Zaha is specifically goals and assists. And if he doesn't get them, you know, he might not get a move, which I'm sure he's been waiting a couple of years for. Fulham have lost their last 3 home Premier League games by a 3+ goal margin, scoring none and conceding 10, which is quite gazy. You know, it is quite gazy. Finally, people, and a game that was very good, assuming I ain't missed anything else out, Villa, who were also, you know, doing a good run to the season, come crashing down to earth as they're put to the sword 3-0. 3 goals to Leeds, won 3-0. Patrick Bamford got a hat-trick. Can't say I've seen Lacazette do that. You know, Bamford's last 2 goals, I'd say for me, the second and third, but the second one in particular, things of beauty. And it's a good look for Bamford, you know. It's, again, I don't think he goes to the Euros, but, you know, the more you score goals, the more you complicate things. Like, there's a lot of strikers that are probably in the Euro debate now. Like, for me, you know, Harry Kane is the one that's got defo going, Mason Greenwood defo, but you look at what you could have Kane, you could have Mason Greenwood, you could have Jamie Vardy if rumours are true and he comes out of retirement. Calvert-Lewin is bagging goals, Danny Ings, you know, outside a chance with people like Patrick Bamford, you keep scoring goals, the media get behind you. You know, there's probably a couple other men are missing out. It's an interesting one in relation to strikers and whatnot, people. Danny Welbeck is playing for Brighton, you know, Southgate is bookie, you know, you get on a run of games, you might go to the Euros. now I'm playing. I don't feel Welbeck goes. But it'd be interesting to see what happens for the Euros because, again, you look at someone like Loftus-Cheek and Dele Alli, Fulham and Spurs respectively, not being called up, if I remember correctly, need to have good seasons. Big 3 points for Leeds, and I think everybody wants them to stay in the Premier League. They're doing what they need to do, people. Patrick Bamford has scored 6 goals in Leeds' first 6 league matches this season. Obviously, the hat-trick flatters it. Only Eric Cantona in 92-93, also 6, has scored as many goals for the Whites at this stage of the Premier League campaign. If you're mentioned with Eric Cantona and anything, you must be doing all right. Leeds win has moved them to 3rd in the Premier League table, which is their highest position since September the 20th, 2002, which was the year Brazil won the World Cup, and I was in year 2. Leeds have scored 12 goals this season, the most by a newly promoted club after 6 games of a season in the division since Middlesbrough did so in 92-93, also with 12. Bamford is the first Leeds player to score more than once in an away league game in the Premier League since both Mark Viduka and Harry Kewell did so at Fulham at Charlton in April 2003. My Fulham notes were under as to why I read it. Moving away from the Premier League, in fact, before we move away, I might as well look at the Premier League table for you guys, people, really quickly. Premier League table, not Premier League results, Siri. Come on now. Why would we need that? And it's a bit of a dodgy one, It's a Merseyside thing in 1st and 2nd. Everton and Liverpool are in 1st and 2nd respectively. Goal difference probably makes the difference for Everton. In 3rd place, you've got Aston Villa. 4th, you've got Leicester. 5th place, you've got Spurs. In 6th place, you've got Leeds United. 7th, you've got Southampton. 8th, you've got Crystal Palace. 9th and 10th, you've got Wolves and Chelsea. 11th place, which is worse than last year, 9 points, you've got my club Arsenal. Behind them, you've got West Ham. 13th, you've got Man City. 14th, you've got Newcastle. In 15th place, rightly so, and I'm happy to see that because their fans give me a lot of grief, Manchester United are 15th. Brighton are 16th. West Brom, are 17th, and the relegation zone comprises of a team I expect to go down. One of the only assurances is Fulham. Sheffield United have had a bit of a dodgy start to the Premier League, and they can't really complain, and they find themselves there as well. Valiant effort against Liverpool, but ultimately no points. And you've got Burnley, potentially Sean Dyche might find himself under pressure. I think West Brom will go down and one of Sheffield and Burnley will beat the drop. But again, who knows? And it could very well stay the same. The beauty is, there's 32 Premier League games left, people. So you can't draw any conclusions in relation to winning the league, top 4, top 10, relegation, or whatever, people. We can just enjoy it. And our Premier League might lack. The randomness is what makes it brilliant, in my opinion. And long may it continue, really and truly. I mean, what else is there to say? Let's move on to the Champions League, people, because the Champions League is also happening, and actually it starts today, people. First and foremost, you've got Lokomotiv Moscow against Bayern Munich. You've got Shakhtar Donetsk also against Inter Milan, which if Shakhtar's game is anything like the Real Madrid one, it should be a tasty one. You've got Marseille against Manchester City. Man City travel to Marseille. Liverpool against Michelin. You've got Borussia Mönchengladbach at home against Real Madrid. Atletico Madrid will play against RB Salzburg. You've got Porto against Olympiacos. Tasty one. You've got Atlanta against Ajax. That's a decent one for the football neutrals. They both teams that like to bop it. You've got Krasnodar against Chelsea. You know me, I can't do the pronunciation thing. You've got Istanbul against PSG. You've got Ferencvaros against Dynamo Kiev. You've got Juventus tomorrow against Barcelona. The last 2 games I've said as well, also tomorrow. And that's going to be interesting because PK, like an idiot, got himself sent off in the last fixture. So it's going to be an interesting one. Both teams took 3 points in their opening games. We all know it. There's not too much difference between winning the group or coming second now, because anyone can face anyone. But it could mean it could make the difference. You've got Club Brugge against Lazio. Lazio defeated Dortmund, so I'm sure they want to continue that. You've got RB Leipzig in the same way you had Salzburg playing. You've got RB Leipzig travelling to Old Trafford. You've got Dortmund welcoming Zenit to their place. And you've got Rennes against Seville, and that's going to be an interesting game for me to watch because, as you lot know, you've got Camavinga, you've got Jeremy Doku. Rennes have a couple of decent little players, them. Away from that, though, if we look at the Europa League now, where the real European football powerhouses are at, big up to Arsenal, never big up Spurs, but this is what it's all about. On Thursday, you've got AEK Athens welcoming Leicester City. You've got Karabag against Villarreal. You've got Lebarek versus, I can't say, is that Red Star? I don't know, man. That's CRVENAZVEZDA against Lebarek, people. I can't pronounce that one there, so I'm not even going to try. I don't even know about that team there, but I've spelled it out. Google that one. You've got LASK, who lost to Spurs against Ludogorets. You've got Antwerp welcoming Spurs to Belgium. You've got Sivasspor against Tel Aviv. You've got Gent and Hoffenheim. You've got CSK Moscow against Dynamo Zagreb. Feyenoord and Wolfsburg. You've got Zora against Braga. AC Milan against Sparta Prague. You've got Lille welcoming Celtic. You've got Molde versus Rapid Vienna, and that's of interest to me because that's my group. You've got Rangers, Steven Gerrard's Rangers against Lech Poznan. You've got Nice against I don't know that team's name as well, people. That one there's a bit of a madness. I think this is an Israeli side, and I do think it's one of them where the name to we know as English fans isn't the same, but H.BERSHEVA, people. So that's H.BEERSHEVA. And again, man, it's just feeling like Master League every time I pre-Europa League. You've got Sociedad against Napoli. Sociedad have been playing quite well in La Liga and quite high for the La Liga rankings. You've got Slavia against Leverkusen as well. You've got Cluj against Lemberg. You've got Standard Liège travelling to Benfica. AC Ammonia will play PSV. Arsenal against Dundalk. Roma against CSKA Sofia. Granada against PAOK. You've got AZ Alkmaar against Rijeka as well. So it's bound to be a good one. Apologies for butchering teams' names. I mean, no disrespect. I'm just not good at that sort of thing in particular. Away from all of that, though, people, I know you all watched El Clasico. Real Madrid won 3-1. It was nice to see Ansu Fati continue to create history and score. But I think, Koeman took too long with the subs, and I think, they were a bit negative. I think they were just poor defensive mistakes. I think Busquets is on a serious decline. I think PK struggled. I think Jordi Alba was quite good. I think Fati was quite good. I think Messi sulked a lot. And, Messi hasn't bagged in 6 El Clasicos. I think the last time he scored in one, Ronaldo was in the league. And Messi's a great player, but we need to ask these questions when he's not doing it. Modric, Ramos and Valverde confirmed 3 points for Real Madrid, of course. Zidane's had a lot of pressure on him, really and truly. They even lost in the Champions League, and they've been a bit woeful all season. But he is now unbeaten in 6 Clásicos at the Camp Nou. As Real Madrid manager in all competitions. At 17 years of age and 359 days, Ansu Fati has become the youngest player to score in El Clasico in all comps in the 21st century, breaking the previous record held by Vinicius Jr., who at 19 and 233 days. Nice to see. Real Madrid have won their first El Clasico of a La Liga season in one of the last 12 campaigns, losing 8, drawing 2, coming that win coming at the Santiago Bernabeu in 2014. So they've ended a poor bit of run. In other news, though, and I've done a video about it, people, and I implore you all to listen to it. Unfortunately, Jeremy Wisten, forgive me for mispronunciation, young man, 18 years of age, was a defender, born in Malawi, moved over to the UK with his family, was part of Man City's academy, before recently leaving. Sadly, he's taken his own life. Allegedly, reports say that. From what I read from the family, they're still waiting on the coroner's report and whatnot, but it's widely speculated he took his own life. And again, I think this raises the question for, I'm not going to lie, I think Premier League clubs do a lot. They definitely can do a little bit more to safeguard and stuff, but they definitely do a lot. But I think this raises in question, clubs doing a bit more to safeguard the future, potentially parents and clubs opening players to the possibilities of doing more things beyond football, and realizing that when one thing ends, it's never truly the end. I really sympathize with him, because I can imagine the social media pressures, little pressures. Apparently he's had injuries, he's been released. I can see how this can have a negative effect on someone and make them feel the only way out is to end it. And it's sad because nobody, like you lot know, I'm not gonna say that I know anyone, but I'm pretty sure no one decides to take their own life, just wakes up one day, decides to take their own life. It's probably something that plagues at people for time, and it's something that they probably come close to doing but never get to do. So if he gets to that final stage and goes over that line, why has he got to that moment? Why has he felt like he couldn't speak to anyone? It's quite sad. 9 times out of 10, it's them ones that are probably the most, I don't know him, but I could imagine, because there's a current theme, he's probably one of the most bubbliest people around his friends, or was around his friends, but behind closed doors, you never know the battles people are facing. It is quite sad, and I hope his soul is resting in peace. I hope his family can find some sort of strength, people. Just by looking at their parents speaking, they've said, we've been inundated with messages from different types of people we did not expect to hear from. We are very grateful for that, and it has helped us to cope. But it is still so difficult to understand how we came to be in this situation. During the last year at Man City, he was injured and spent a long time without playing. He did recover, but then had not played enough football the year prior to be considered for the next level. Of course, it was frustrating for him. He went for trials elsewhere because he hadn't played much football. It proved difficult. We helped him look after himself and encouraged him to take up other sports to take himself fit until he left us. He enjoyed his time at Man City very much. We are very grateful for the opportunity they gave our son. In particular, his first coach, Mark Burton. He was an amazing coach, and they won 3 national championships for their age when he was younger. I think that football clubs and schools need to pay more careful attention to the mental health of their boys and girls. I also think boys and girls whose contracts come to an end or are released by all clubs need some care beyond that time. I think there's often too much focus on this at the professional level in sport, but maybe not so much at the lower level. Furthermore, it would be good if mental health education was extended to parents. I think it would help cases like our son. We want to prevent a family going through the same experience, and that's sad, and it's chilling, and it's true. There should be mental health for parents, maybe mental health for everybody connected with football and in life. Can we look to read signs of depression, or if someone's not there, can we open up healthy conversations where we can have these? Because again, I don't want to go over the same stuff. Please go and check out my video on YouTube on this, but at the same time, people, I sympathize with this young man. He's 17, 18, my nephew is 19. I'm not too much older than this guy, so I can see what he's going through. As males, I know we're making a lot of progress with speaking about our feelings, with not saying things like man up and all of these sort of things. But, we're chasing thousands of years with that masculinity sort of thing. Not that it makes you any less masculine for talking about your opinions. Talking about your feelings, you get it, and whatnot. I feel it's difficult for men, full stop, but definitely for black Africans and black Caribbean men, or black British Africans and Caribbeans alike, because, males in total, but we've got that a bit more, because I do think in relation to mental health, I I'm not going to say black folk are behind, but we can be. I would say we're moving forward, but I'd say we're the less open to it. We always think we're good. Like, I know a lot of our older generation, and it's down for the parents to unlearn these toxic things as well. When you say things to your children like, oh, what are you upset about? You've got a roof over your head, you've got food in your belly, you've got clothes on your back. That's it. It's not as basic as that. We've got open conversations. As a young black man, I can sympathize with him, because we kind of put it upon ourselves to be hard body all the time, to be tough, and to just soldier everything, take everything on the shoulders, or like I always say, or people always say, charge it to the game, firm that, hold that, and all of that is good in isolation. But too much of that, no man is an island. That one man army can very much become a prison, and a lot of people can become a prison in their mind, myself included. Because I'm not gonna say I've been through what my man's been through, but I've been through some tough times. I've been through times where I think there's no way out, people. I've told you lot already. previous vid, when I was depressed, when, you know, I went on about 20, 30 job interviews, people, all telling man no. You know, it weren't even an ignorant thing, you know. My mum couldn't even understand why am I getting turned down. I was going CV workshops, you know, I was asking for feedback when they're turfing me. Like I said, I was going CV workshop, job workshop, you know, one of them ones you learn about the company, you know, you make sure, not memorize, but you make sure you can answer and say a couple wavy stuff. Everything weren't happening, people. I'm getting turned down. There's financial pressures, you know. The YouTube thing weren't banging as well, even when, you know, because I remember when I first started YouTube, I was still struggling on the job market. A lot of things weren't going right. And I used to just sit in Tottenham Hell, people. Tottenham Marshes, apologies. Late at night, when you really shouldn't. I weren't crying, but close to tears, people. Like, in fact, there was probably a couple of tears. Just looking at the sky aimlessly, like, oh God, allow me, man. When's this gonna end? Like, I can't do this no more, like, sort of thing. So I know exactly how it feels, and it is upsetting, people. It really is upsetting that nobody could help, and the parents are probably gonna feel that they've done something wrong. You know, what did we do to not make him want to speak? And they probably didn't do nothing. You know, it's one of them things. There's no one to blame here. You know, and I hope they don't blame themselves, man, because no one should have to bury their children. So I don't have a child. And I definitely can't comprehend what the mother in particular, because she birthed that child, you know, it is the father's seed, you know, he come from his father's thing, but, you know, she nurtured him, you know, he was literally part of her for 9 months, you know, eating the same food they're eating. A mother's bond with her child is a different sort of thing, you know. So to see, you know, no one wants to bury their mother. I don't want to bury my mother. I want to die before my mother. But that would be a selfish thing for me to say, because it will break her heart. No mother deserves to lose their son. So I hope God mends her heart and just can give her strength, man. Because I don't know what to say, people. It's sad, man. It's sad. Moving away from that, though, and keeping up the theme with Black History, people, apparently West Ham first team coach Paul Nevin says there's been a complete underrepresentation of black managers in the English game, and that the next generation need more role models to aspire to, which is a fact, people. As you lot know, this is a man who's worked at West Ham since February of this year. He's previously worked at Fulham, Norwich, Brighton and England, and has also worked in Australia and Qatar. He also told people, I've been looking recently, and out of the 240 managers there have been in the Premier League, only 9 have been from a black or ethnic minority background. Obviously, that reflects a complete underrepresentation. I mean, it goes up the levels. You know, you look at Arsenal, my club. I look at the players, very diverse. I look at the coaching staff and the medical staff. The numbers begin to die down. In fact, there is none. You look at the boardroom, there is none. I'm not saying I want black faces in there for the sake of it. You can't tell me there are not black individuals out there, whether former players or not, that could do something. And I'm not saying any club's racist necessarily, but it's that unconscious bias. It is that old boys club where you just keep employing your friends in, you know, for a Premier League that, you know, we could talk about. We could have how many 11s, people, of black players among the Premier League years. To have only had 9 coaches is poor. And again, it is down to black people to do more to get into those positions. But I can't blame players, you know, if it's not open and whatnot. And we're at a difficult stage because there is a certain black manager now. You know, you get those folk where I'd say all skin folk ain't kin folk. They get in positions and they hide. There's a certain coach that's at Spurs now that's been a first team manager. You know, when he hasn't got a job, he's doing this whole woe is me, you know, let's get black people into jobs. When he's in one, he's very silent. In fact, when I was at a Kick It Out event, you know, the FA chairman said he was trying to organise, you know, behind the scenes meetings with black professionals and black promising professionals in the game to see what could be done. This guy said he turned it down. He was scared. He didn't want to lose his role. Anytime you got your bills to pay and whatnot, but anytime you're thinking of me and not the collective, you've told us, well, it is people. I would like to see more people, really and truly. To only have 9 is ridiculous. That represents about 3.75% people. And we do need role models within the game. You know, I'm not going to read it all out, but Paul Nevin in this article went on to speak very highly of Chris Hughton in particular, people. Moving away from that and speaking of black coaches, you know, Eddie Newton's over there at Trabzonspor, I can't say their name, over in Turkey, the former Chelsea lad. And, you know, he's brought Lewis Baker over there with him on loan. And apparently he's brought sports scientist Malcolm Hackness to his backroom staff at the club as well. Hackness is also the son of Chelsea's long-lasting head of sports science and psychology, Tim Harkness. So again, you know, big up him, but that could also highlight bringing, people in special positions, bringing your family members through as well, which is everything wrong with the game. Apparently, according to James Pearce, Liverpool are set to finally make the move to their new 50 million training complex in Kirkby next month. The Premier League champions were initially scheduled to leave their historic Melwood ground at the end of last season. However, those plans were shelved due to delays to the construction project people. Melwood was sold for around 10 million to be turned into housing, but Liverpool inserted a clause that gave them the option to stay put for the entire of this season in the event of unforeseen circumstances. And it is going to be quite good because, apparently Jordan Henderson and Milner, amongst other senior players, have had an input. Jurgen Klopp's been very hands-on. It also brings closer the academy and the first team, which is also good, people. And it's been in the makings for a while, so it must be exciting times, people. It really must be exciting times. This is I'm sure many Liverpool fans will be upset to see the back of Melwood because it's been about for 60 odd years. I'm 25, it's 60 years of age, so many fans have seen that been and come and gone. Apparently, Manchester United are closing in on appointing a data scientist to support research across a number of areas at the club, people. Adam Crafton reports. Head of football development, John Mouton, has whittled down a list to a handful of candidates whose credentials will be presented to Joe Fraser and Ed Woodward for final selection. Apparently, this is expected to result in a hire within a month. Apparently, United had originally very early morning, had a very long list of targets from the footballing world, but are now looking at a more corporate external hire, possibly from a pharmaceutical background, although this is not guaranteed. Man United wants someone who can study data across a number of performance indicators, including medical and recruitment, but will also be able to straddle the business side of the club. The role is a step in the direction of United establishing their own research unit, similar to what Liverpool have done with Dr. Ian Graham. Graham holds a Cambridge degree in theoretical physics, and his modelling has helped improve Liverpool's record on injury prevention, conditioning, and off-field performance and recruitment. So we'll have to see what happens in that regards. Apparently, 3 Premier League footballers recorded positives in drug tests during the 2019-20 season. They are found not to have broken any rules and were allowed to continue playing by UK anti-doping, UKAD. It is understood one of the banned substances a player tested positive was, methamphetamine, which is often sold under the trade name Ritalin. The stimulated medication is most commonly used to treat attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So whatever that means. But apparently it can enhance explosiveness, powerness, and strength and stamina. Apparently, Another player tested positive for a substance which I am not going to try to pronounce, but apparently it's used to treat inflammatory and allergic disorders. It can also help athletes train more often and at a higher intensity. Now, sometimes people are not using things intentionally, but of course it does put up the debate. Apparently the one that's concerning the most, the identity of the third substance was withheld by UKAD. The Athletic understands this is because it relates to an ongoing investigation. So the others are probably just a byproduct of taking it for other reasons unrelated to football, which I'm not saying it is, but the third one looks like there's a serious case and a potential story brewing. Apparently Henry Lansbury has turned down the offer of a payout on reduced terms as Aston Villa tried to offload him. And it is funny, I would like to, of course, Aston Villa isn't the same as Arsenal, but is the media going to paint an English player as a money grabber, as someone happy to sit on their hands? I'm not too sure, and I'm not saying they should, because it doesn't matter if you're Mustafi, if you're Henry Lansbury, if you're Mesut Ozil, if you're Socrates, if you're in this COVID environment, yeah, you should go and play football. But in this COVID environment, if you're thinking about finances, and the fact that you might not get that elsewhere, why not? Lansbury, no one put a gun to his head to sign that Villa contract. Yeah, he's not playing. Yeah, he's marginalised. Yeah, he should leave. But say he's happy at Villa. Say he believes he can play. Why would he want to accept it on reduced terms? Help you lot for what? A footballing career is short. Yeah, he could take reduced terms and negotiate a free transfer elsewhere, but he's entitled to stay for whatever reason he wants and not take a payout. And at 30 years of age, he's got to think about everything, people. He has to think about everything, Sadly, he hasn't started a Premier League game since last December, people. But he refused to go. He doesn't want to. He signed in 2017, on that 3.5 year deal. He didn't want to do it. He really didn't want to do it. Apparently, he continues to train at the squad, but he's not in Villa's 25-man squad. So again, it's a bit like Ozil. How much do you want to play football? But again, I can't begrudge if he wants to stay for finance purposes, people. Away from that, though, apparently Zlatan Ibrahimovic has scored more Serie A goals this season than any other player with 6. He's only played 3 games. He's now been directly involved in 21 goals since returning to AC Milan. 5 assists, in 21. Well, yeah, he's been involved in 21 goals. And he's actually only played 21 games, bagged 16 goals, and got 5 assists. So, forever young. Paul Pogba's been a bit angry, as you lot saw. He's very upset about fake news. Apparently, he said he'll take legal action after reports have come down that he will quit international football, allegedly in relation to, sadly, President Emmanuel Macron's comments in relation to Islam. He said, absolutely 100% unfounded news about me are going around stating things I have never said or thought. I am against any and all forms of terror and violence. Unfortunately, some press people don't act responsibly when writing the news, abusing their press freedom, not verifying if what they write/reproduce is true, creating a gossip chain without caring that it affects people's lives and my life. I am taking legal action against the publishers and spreaders of these 100% fake news. Rightly so. As you lot know, people, Premier League clubs in particular have raised over £300,000 for charity. And apparently that pay-per-view Premier League scheme is set to continue, however. And again, like I said at the start of this, it's important to remember Mike Ashley voted for it. Only Leicester voted against it. But Mike Ashley, apparently, even though he's cheeky, I don't think he's wrong. He's called out the Premier League and asked them to review it. Like I already said, he voted in favour. Leicester was the only club that didn't. He said, this was because there were no realistic or any viable alternatives put forward to enable supporters to watch matches. Charging $14.95 for a single televised match in the current climate is unacceptable to any football fan. You were still willing to take it. You're trying to get good PR. You know it is, but you couldn't care less. It's not your problem. You don't care if people's mouths be fed. We all know what you do at Sports Direct. We all know what you've been doing at Liverpool. You voted for it. Regardless, you might not have been the man who said it, but you are the club owner. It's not going to happen without you. You was willing to take that. You just saw the numbers. You saw Newcastle, one of the biggest supported clubs in the land. No seats on bums. We're losing money. $14.95. The fans will take it. And when the fans said, no, we're not taking this no more. We're streaming this thing and we're donating it to charity. You're trying to get on the good book. So it's absolutely ludicrous to see this from Mike Ashley, but he's telling the truth. He said, why not make it more accessible at $4.95 per match until Christmas? £4.95 would be better. But at the same time, I can't speak for anyone else, people. I am not paying an effing penny. You get BT out of me. You get Sky Sports. You get Amazon. You're not getting anything else out of me. Unless it was Champions League, I'd consider it and I'd still stream. You're not getting nothing out of me. And I hope you lot don't give them a penny either. They're trying to fleece us. They're quite frankly taking the fucking piss. Forget all of that. They're not right. They people, the government and football, they're mirroring each other. They're buoying us, and it's time to rise up and say we're not taking any of this. It's a vigilante thing now. We're not taking it. Big up all the streamers, big up all the ones that sell them bookie boxes with all the channels in the world on it. Big up everybody who's even doing a thing where going halves and whatnot with their boys, getting a Sky Sports or a BT and sharing the logins. I rate it. Do what you can. Don't let them fleece you. Look, keep your money in your pockets. Give that £15 to food banks or donate it to charities where it'll actually be caused, or go and buy something for someone on the street that's in need. Go buy them a jacket or food for 15 quid. Don't give it to the Premier League. What do they need it for? They don't care. F them. But he went on to say the government should waive VAT on the above pay-per-view matches so that as many of those who are unable to attend matches in person can at least watch their team. And to be fair, if it did go down to £4.95, people are just going to crowd into yards. They're going to say it's a fiver, what man them. I'm going to pay the $5. Someone bring a booze. We'll order a pizza. We'll catch a vibe. We'll watch the game together. And with COVID in place, I'm not too sure. That will always be a thing. Apparently, the profit from the above reduced pay-per-view options, I would suggest that 50% would be retained by Premier League and 50% would go to the footballing pyramid below. So we'll see what happens in that regards. Moving away from that, though, and quickly speaking about transfers, people, not that it's transfer season, but to round this all up, Man City apparently like the look of Nagelsmann and Pochettino as potential replacements for Pep Guardiola as he is in the last year of his deal, people. Apparently, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who is, man said Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, I don't know why that's there, but moving away from it, Kylian Mbappe plans on winning the Champions League at PSG before moving on to a big club, according to current club ambassador and former PSG midfielder Yuri Dekosh. I can't say that name, but either way, yeah, that's interesting because I do think Mbappe within the next 18 months will go to Real Madrid, Barca, maybe even Liverpool, one of these sort of teams that have the cash. You know, maybe not Liverpool, but they've been linked with him. Apparently, Milic is set to join Juventus next summer. Apparently, Sheffield United want to take Rojo on loan in January. Apparently, Upamecano has been linked with United. Apparently, Arsenal and Juventus remain keen on signing Aouar in January, but face competition from PSV. Apparently, Liverpool may decide not to sign a centre-back in January and wait for a longer-term prospect next summer, despite the serious injury to 29-year-old Netherlands defender Virgil van Dijk. Modric has ruled out a moving back in any capacity to Spurs. He said he's too old for that. Apparently, Real Madrid will only offer Spanish centre-back Ramos a 1-year extension, but he wants a 2-year deal, so that raised the question he could move. Mars has denied claims that he has openly discussed the possibility of joining Real Madrid or PSG. Where else have we got? Apparently, Juventus and Barcelona are interested in Ajax under-19 midfielder Ryan Gravenberch, who played against Liverpool and will keep getting better, and he's got the world at his feet, people, in my humble opinion. Apparently, Rudiger is to be reintegrated by Frank Lampard into the Chelsea squad. Squadron Mustafi has rejected a contract offer by Arsenal, people. I don't know what's madder, the fact that he's rejected it or the fact that we've offered him it. I'll leave you lot to draw your own conclusions. Apparently, Spurs are hoping to negotiate an early termination of English left-back Danny Rose's contract, but the 30-year-old intends to demand the full 2.5 plus remaining on his deal, which runs until June next year. And he's entitled to take that, people, really and truly. Apparently, Premier League chiefs will be discussing a U-turn over the pay-per-view row. Apparently, David Moyes is to be handed a contract extension following the club's resurgence since lockdown, but the club owners may delay opening talks until they are fully convinced the club will not be dragged into a relegation race. Apparently, and finally, Barcelona and France centre-back Umtiti, courtesy of Canal Plus via Football London, has dismissed suggestions of a move to Arsenal. And I mean, he is always linked with Arsenal for whatever reason. But I think with that wraps up what's been a fantastic podcast, people. As I said, it was an interesting weekend for Premier League action. We've got Europa League and Champions League. You lot know me. I normally bring out 2 podcasts a week. You get one on Tuesday if there's been Premier League on the Monday. Typically not. Monday, Tuesday is podcast day. Monday if there's no Monday League football. Tuesday morning if it is. Friday, we preview the weekend's action and we review the Champions League and the rest of it. So I hope to see you lot there, people. Make sure you're following on all the necessary platforms: Spotify, YouTube, Anchor, Google, Apple, if I haven't said it, and whatnot. I think I've got 1,000 listeners on Spotify, so if you're watching this or listening to this on YouTube, go support. And we just dropped something. Go support the thing on Spotify, man. I need all my numbers to match up. I need to improve my Spotify numbers and I need to improve my Instagram numbers. So give the guy a follow on Instagram, man. On that note, though, I've got nothing more to add. It's been a fantastic hour or so with you guys. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. If you want more DG content, then go and check out my YouTube channel or just go and look at my previous podcast. On that note, though, people, DG, thank you for listening. I'm out.